Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wicked Encounters, where we explore just what goes bump in the night. I'm your host, Allie, and today we're going to step back from the cryptids for just a moment and talk about 5 urban legends from Pennsylvania. Ah, yes, Pennsylvania. The state of independence, liberty, and horror. From haunted roads and bridges to creepy creatures and curses, Pennsylvania has its share of dark and spooky urban legends that will send shivers down your spine. Urban legends are a genre of folklore, typically shared orally, but thanks to the internet, we get to share them more easily than meeting up in person. Today, I'd like to share 5 urban legends that have been told to me with you. Are you ready to discover some of the secrets of the Keystone State? Then sit back, relax, and let's talk about them. Located in York County, Pennsylvania, lies the small Hellam Township, a rather unassuming, quaint area with a dark legend surrounding it. The 7 Gates of Hell. Depending on who you ask, Hellam was said to have had a mental institution set up along Toad Road, isolated from the rest of society for the insanity contained in its walls. During a patient escape in the 1800s, a fire broke out, setting the entire building ablaze, with many of the patients burning alive. Gates were set up to keep in those patients who managed to escape the fires, where more often than not they were beaten to death. Unbeknownst to the supposed-to-be rescuers who set up those gates, they became a new form of prison for the disturbed souls that were kept at the asylum. Unable to find peace nor move on to the afterlife, they remained trapped to the lands for all eternity. Legend says that the anger, hatred, violence, and venom in these souls created a rift allowing for an entrance to hell itself. The first gate can be found at any time of day, but to find the rest, they exist in a realm all their own, only accessible after nightfall, when shadowy figures weave through the forest and the smell of ash permeates around you, with the soft whispers of screams coming from the distance. As you make your way through the gates, the possible sighting of one of the unfortunate patients grows, along with the smell of heat. It is said that once you pass through the 7th gate, you will find yourself in hell itself, though few have made it to the 5th, and none have returned after finding the 6th. Good luck, thrill seekers. May you find what you're looking for. In Pittsburgh, there is a legend of a man that haunts locals and draws tourists to the Steel City. The legend of a horribly deformed man who lurks about at night trying to keep out of sight. A task made more difficult by the sickeningly green glow of his skin, revealing a face melted like candle wax against his skull. The legend of the Green Man, or as he is also known, Charlie No-Face. There are many hypotheses as to what happened to Charlie No-Face. Some say he was a worker for the West Mifflin Power Company, who was electrocuted by a downed power line, or someone who was struck by lightning. Others surmise that he was a factory worker who was splashed with acid, or a psychotic individual who removed his own face. No matter the background, the Green Man always ends up with his 2 unique features: his severely deformed face and sickly green skin. Different abandoned railroad tunnels are said to be the location for where Charlie No-Face had his unfortunate accident, but the most popular one is in South Park, an industrial area near Pittsburgh. It is said that the ghoulish Green Man could be most commonly seen walking along the Copel New Galilee Road in Big Beaver, and those who say that are correct. To an extent. You see, the Green Man, Charlie No-Face, was a real person, named Raymond Robinson, who did have a horrible accident involving electricity. At the time, he wasn't a worker, but an 8-year-old boy who on June 18, 1919, was playing with his friends when he was electrocuted while climbing a pole along the Murado Bridge to see if a bird's nest had eggs in it. He never did get to see if there were eggs in the nest, or anything else for the rest of his life, as Robinson's eyes, lips, nose, and ears were gone or misshapen, as he accidentally touched an exposed wire that had once powered trolleys along the line. His arms were so severely maimed, with one hand being blown clean off from the intense volts that went through his small body. One boy only a year earlier died after suffering intense pain for 2 weeks after touching the exact same wire. Robinson, though, contrary to what doctors expected, survived after a lengthy recuperation. Due to the accident and the way of the world back then, Robinson spent his days inside, passing his days listening to baseball games on his radio, reading Braille, and making doormats, belts, and wallets out of leather. In the 1950s, he began walking along Route 351 at night to avoid being seen by people, though rumors soon spread about a disfigured hitchhiker, causing people to begin seeking him out along his walks. At times, Robinson would stop and chat, smoking cigarettes and drinking beers with people, some of whom would ask for a photo with him. A few times, scum of the earth would find him, belittle or assault him, but these were few and far between. And despite these disgusting individuals, Robinson continued taking his walks, refusing to have more of his life be robbed from him. Raymond Robinson died in 1985, though locals still go on late-night adventures to find Charlie No-Face, a man who was no ghoul, simply a victim of an unfortunate accident whose will to live gave him a long life with a truly unique appearance. Located at 1129 Ridge Avenue in the Manchester North Side neighborhood of Pittsburgh lies the Congolier House. With a history steeped in blood and death, the Congolier House has been nicknamed the House the Devil Built. Built by a well-to-do Southern man, Charles Congolier, he lived in the house during the 1860s with his wife Lida and their maid, Essie. Ever a gentleman, Charles carried out a secret affair with Essie behind Lida's back. Ever a lady, Lida, upon overhearing heavy panting and soft moans in the house, discovered and quickly ended the affair by allowing the lovers to be together forever, with the edge of a knife. Days later, a friend of the Congoliers visited after not hearing from the family, where he discovered Lida in her rocking chair, humming a soft lullaby to the severed head of Essie. For most haunted houses, a murder as gruesome as that would be enough, but not for the Congolier house. Despite the murder, the house was sold in 1892 to a local railroad company who purchased it to provide housing for their workers, renovating the house to an apartment building. Though it wasn't long before whispers of paranormal activity began, with workers reporting to hear screams and the sounds of a woman sobbing in empty rooms. Others told tales of hearing the sound of a rocking chair and a woman mumbling old nursery rhymes and lullabies. With such reports, few workers chose to stay in the place for long, and the house was abandoned once more after only 2 years. Despite the paranormal hauntings the house was said to have, it was purchased in 1901 by a Dr. Adolf C. Brunrichter. The doctor was warned of the house and its history, yet he chose to purchase it anyway, and became a bit of an enigma in the neighborhood. Those who lived near the house waited with bated breath for what horrible thing would occur next. After all, the house was built by the devil, and with a 2-for-2 record of horrors, surely the third time would be the charm for something truly terrible to happen. But Dr. Brunrichter rarely interacted with his neighbors, choosing to keep to himself inside his home. All the same, despite his rare interactions with others, something terrible finally happened on August 12, 1901. When the family who lived next door to the house heard a blood-curdling scream. Running outside, the family saw a bright flash come from inside the house, whose windows were shattered with glass out in the lawn just before they felt tremors beneath their feet. A crowd had gathered around the house from neighbors whose furniture was knocked over from the shaking earth. As police and firemen arrived, it was assumed the doctor was still in his home, but upon inspection of the house, he couldn't be found. In his place, in an upstairs room, laid the decomposing, naked, decapitated body of a young woman, and a laboratory in another room with several other heads from various women. It was believed that the doctor had been trying to find a way to keep the severed heads alive after their decapitation, when faulty equipment had caused an explosion. Knowing that his time in the house had come, Dr. Brunrichter fled during the confusion, leaving the Congolier house with just one more horror story under its roof. There's more to the Congolier house, quite a bit more in fact, but we'll save it for another time if you're interested. Let me know. Down in North Park, Irwin Road is an all-around, unassuming, and completely normal road during the day. But as the sun goes down, the road becomes engulfed in a heavy blue mist, where paranormal entities happily play. Irwin Road is claimed to be steeped in tragic tales, and with a few houses running along its length, they, of course, are included in these horrors. For one such home, legends tell the tale of a father, enraged at life, who came home one day and slaughtered his wife and their children, hiding their bodies in the septic tank. Another house is said to be the home of a Satan-worshipping witch, and of course that could mean nothing but trouble in the future for those who are unfortunate enough to stumble across her home. Speaking of nothing but trouble, there are stories that the road was once used by the Ku Klux Klan to hold their rallies, and where they would use the gnarled trees by the side of the road for evil purposes against others. It's surprising how many tales the road has attached to it, such as a teenage boy who had stopped his car along the road, only to be murdered by a serial killer. A more cheerful tale is that of a couple said to be buried in the cemetery close to the road with worn-out and thin gravestones. Their names have been lost to time, but the two gravestones lean towards each other, kept apart only by a few inches. It is said that under a full moon, the two lovers are able to touch once more, their ghosts dancing together under the moonlight. Though another version says that if the two were ever to touch under a full moon, the world will end. Which version do you prefer? Every person has rough days, but some reach a point of despair so deep it can become seemingly impossible to climb out. Imagine hitting this rock bottom, or maybe you don't need to. Being fired from your job, evicted from your home, a divorce, or bankruptcy. You're not sure if you can make it through another day. Now imagine if there was a place for you to go, to no longer need to be alone with your thoughts, surrounded by people who know exactly what you're going through, for they're going through it at the exact same time. Supposedly in Philadelphia, there is a bus that specializes in bringing together these downtrodden souls to share in their hopelessness. The bus to nowhere. In Philadelphia, buses traverse the city day and night, always having their set destinations, pickup and drop-off times, and regular passengers who use them to get to their destination. Except one. With no LCD display, nor being listed on any transportation maps, this bus, also known as Zero or the Wandering Bus, is said to weave and roam throughout the greater metropolitan area of Philadelphia, only picking up passengers who are in the depths of despair. No one knows what the driver looks like, if they have a sense for those who are hopeless, or if the bus itself somehow knows. You don't need a ticket, or to pay a fare. You simply need to chase the bus for only a moment to prove how badly you want or need the ride. It is said that a potential passenger can know right away that the bus is for them, and they can choose to chase it down and climb on, or ignore it, though they will never get a second chance. Boarding the bus, an automated voice will announce the name of the intersection you have been picked up on, but it never tells you where the ride will end. Outside of the voice, the bus is quiet as the grave, those around you lost in their own thoughts and grief. Upon finding your seat, you drift into a daze, an almost magic of the bus that allows you to confront your demons. You are able to reflect, see the choices available to you, and once you are able to leave regret behind, are you able to snap out of the trance. You are able to reflect, see the choices available to you, and only once you are able to leave regret behind are you able to snap out of the trance and tug on the cord to be able to leave the bus. The scary thing is, how much time has passed since you entered the bus? For some, it may be hours or minutes. For others, perhaps a couple days or weeks. But for some unfortunate souls, it can be months or years when they come to and are able to end their ride. The ride is said to be dependent on how long it takes for each individual to recognize and remedy the behaviors that brought them to board the bus in the first place. Once you leave the bus, the beauty of the city can be found once more, with some supposed passengers comparing it to a feeling of enlightenment. Supposedly, they cannot truly remember their time on the bus, what the driver or other passengers looked like. They can only remember how they felt. Interestingly, the bus was first brought up in 2011, believed to be a work of fiction, but dozens of Philadelphians came forward claiming they knew the bus to be real, as they have been on it, and others have claimed to have seen the bus making its way through the city streets. Philadelphia isn't the only city said to have a bus with no destination, designated only for the forlorn. Reportedly, other cities across the Northeast have been said to have similar buses that operate only at night, and only appearing to those who need them when they are at their lowest. A bright light at the end of a very long tunnel. I hope you enjoyed these 5 urban legends from Pennsylvania. The Keystone State holds many, many more that I am more than happy to share with you. Let me know if you'd like to hear them, or what your thoughts are on the ones shared in this video. What do you think of the Congolier House? Have you walked down the Blue Mist Road? What about the bus to nowhere? Do you know anyone who has been on it? If you'd like me to share some urban legends from other states, let me know. I love a good story, and I love sharing them with you even more. If you liked this video and want more, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification. And if you'd like to support me in other ways, I recently created a Patreon, which is a great way to help. I also have a Discord for more one-on-one conversations if you're so inclined. Well, that's all that I have for today. So with that, I'm Allie, this is Wicked Encounters, and I'll see you next time. Bye!